Hey guys, here is the another awesome Facebook cover for you. Let's take a new file 1702 by 630 and 144 resolution. Let's select the polygon tool, and from the select the filling color to the gray and the border colors to the cyan, and keep it to 6 pixel, and let's make the side to 5 in the top bar, and let's select the move tool, and from there let's bring a guideline from the top bar, and let's drag and draw a polygon shape which has a five-sided, which and leave it. So we have the filling color of the gray and have a border of the cyan color, and let's reposition it, and let's press Ctrl or Command T in order to transform this shape, and click OK in order to accept it. Let's duplicate this layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J from the keyboard, and let's move it by pressing B key from the keyboard, and press Ctrl or Command T in order to transform this layer, this duplicate layer. And let's we place it so the one side, the both shapes side would be the same. Let's reposition it and make OK. And now let's make the another copy by pressing Ctrl or Command J, and let's move it by selecting the move tool, and select the Ctrl or Command T in order to transform this layer. Click OK, and let's we make the both side of this both shape as are facing the both shape, and let's make the another shape to pace off with the corner of the previous shape. Let's reposition it, and let's select OK in order to accept it. Let's zoom in a little bit by selecting the zoom tool from toolbar, and let's adjust more by Ctrl or Command T to transform this last shape, and select OK. And now let's select the all of these four shape by click the shift key from the keyboard, and make Ctrl J in order to make a groove, and rename this as a shape layer. Now press Ctrl or Command T in order to resize again this whole groove, and let's match it with our guideline. In our bottom guideline, let's bring down little bit the guide. While selecting the move tool, let's bring a background image from the image folder, and drop it to the our main document, and make sure this is the just top of the background layer, this new layer, and convert it to the smart object. Press Ctrl or Command T in order to transform it, to resize it again, and click OK in order to accept the resize. And let's select from the adjustment layer the carbon from the bottom of the layer panel, and let's we make some light by changing the diamond of this adjustment layer. And now let's select the exposure from the adjustment panel, and let's increase the exposure to plus 0.67. Let's select the brush tool from the toolbox, and let's select the move tool again, and make sure you have selected the polygon 1 layer, and bring a image from image folder to the our main document, and make sure this image layer is the top of the polygon 1 layer, and click the right mouse button and select create clipping mask in order to clip this image inside this polygon shape. And let's bring the another model image from the image folder, convert it to the smart object, and make sure this image layer would be the top of the polygon 1 copy, and make a create clipping mask by clicking the mouse right button, and again Ctrl or Command T in order to transform the model image. Let's bend it a little bit to left side as our shape is, and click OK in order to accept it. And let's bring the another image from the image folder, and convert it to smart object, drag and drop it to our main document, and make sure this image would be the top of the polygon 1 copy, polygon 1 copy 2. And let's make a mouse right button and select create clipping mask in order to clip it inside this shape, and make it to right bend little bit. Let's resize it again by Ctrl or Command T from the keyboard, and click OK in order to accept the resize of this image layer. And let's select our last layer, the polygon shape, and bring a image from the image folder, convert it to the smart object, and drop it to our main document, and make sure that this image layer would be the top of the polygon 1 copy 2, and make the create clipping mask by clicking the mouse right button and Ctrl or Command T for the resize of this image, and make it more bending right. and click OK in order to accept this resize. Now let's select the polygon 1 shape from the layer panel and select the layer style inner glow. From the bottom of the layer panel, select the inner glow. Let's make the blending mode to screen, opacity 100, and select also the outer glow, and blending mode is the screen, opacity is 100, size 10. Select the drop shadow, which is blend mode is multiply, angle is 92, opacity 100, size is 10. And let's copy this and make it okay, and let's copy this layer style by clicking the mouse right button and paste this layer to our polygon 1 copy, and paste this layer style to all these 4 shaped layer, all these 4 polygon shape layer. And now let's make a text layer. Press the T key from the keyboard or select the T from the toolbox and write John Photography in the main document. And let's increase the size of the text layer. Let's reposition it, and let's give a layer style. Now let's bring the light blur, a lightening image layer which is without any background. Let's make it a small size and drag and drop to our main document. Let's make it more smaller by pressing Ctrl or Command T. Let's resize it and put this in the corner, and change the blending mode to screen for this lightening image blur, and make a carbon copy, make a duplicate copy by pressing Alt or Option key from the keyboard. Now let's make another copy by pressing Alt or Option key from the keyboard. Let's make the another copy by pressing Alt or Option key from the keyboard, and we put this lightning flower image in every corner. And now we bring the another lightning image from the image folder and convert it to a smart object and place it to our main document. Let's resize it by pressing Ctrl or Command T and make it to top of our main document, and click OK in order to accept it, and make it transform flip horizontal. Edit, transform, flip horizontal, and let's drag this layer to the top bar and change the blending mode to screen. And let's select our background layer, and top of that make an adjustment layer of the hue. Then the hue adjustment layer will be just the top of the background layer, which looked wooden background, and you can change the hue value by taking the slider right and left. So that's it for now, and we created an awesome Facebook cover. So we are going to make our next awesome Facebook cover, which would be the Facebook cover number 9. And thanks all of you for joining this lecture, and hope you enjoy this. Thank you.